Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
David from Upfront, sitting here, having the honor of sitting here with Mr. Andrea Lavelli of Dogal Strings. And I'm pretty excited to be here in the beautiful Venice countryside. What would you say?
Hello to everybody. Welcome to my city, the old city of Venice, where I live, where I was born, and where everything of Dogal Strings was started with my grandfather in 1950.
Cheers to your grandfather in 1950.
Yes.
Salute.
Salute.
For those of you who might not be aware, Andrea and his company makes very high-end strings. They're truly exceptional. They're small batch strings, but they're really fantastic. So I wanted to ask him a few questions about music and craft and culture. So for instance, how much does being based in Venice affect?
In fact, the factory started with the name Dogal with my grandfather on 21 of March 1950. But the family was involved on the music from 1880, when the owner was art director of Venice Theater and opened a shop to sell music paper, to sell piano. And the nephew of the owner was the girlfriend, the wife of my grandfather's son. And this everything was started because my grandfather was in Treviso, moved to Venice because his son was fiancé with a young lady, the name is Maria, Zia Maria, and was the nephew of this Brocco family that was started in 1880 with the selling piano, Bergstein, Steinway. And day by day, they growing up with the business. They opened 4 shops in the north of Italy, Padova, Treviso, Belluno. And the son of my grandfather was involved in the business because he was is a creator, and they developed a clavicembalo. And
Tell me again, what did they create?
Clavicembalo is like a piano.
Yeah.
And the problem was to find the strings. There aren't. And my grandfather, I remember they tell me, I take the train from Venice to Milan. It was 1932, 33, and it take 20 hours to arrive in Milan. And go in the shop to buy steel for musical business. And he come back and they put himself the strings for the clavicembalo of his son. When Mr. Brocco, saw that my grandfather was be able to make strings, he said, "Hey man, I need strings for violin. Are you be able to develop?" So my grandfather started thinking, and in 1937 put on the market the first strings with a different brand, Golden Brock. Brock because of Brocco family, right. Golden because they started to make the first strings with the brass material winding, and it's yellow, like gold.
Yes.
So this is the first brand. And they started to make strings in steel, not in gut. Because remember that Venice is not a street for the music. The music for strings is in the center of Italy, in Abruzzo, in Salle, when there is the gut.
So the gut, for those of you who are young, who are watching, strings for orchestral instruments used to be made out of animal gut.
Exactly. From lamb, and in particular, and this traditional was very stronger in the south of Italy. There is a small village that the name is Salle, where people have the traditional to make long rope of this gut. And this was necessary for the violin strings, because at the beginning the violin have the core in the gut and winding with some metal. At the beginning was round, and slowly we introduced also flat. But
wait, it was gut and metal?
Yes, gut, and well, the first strings is just only gut,
okay.
the E, okay. But the G strings needed to be more heavy. And it's not because the gut is very light. It's not possible to have strings like that, the gauge like that. So they make a small gauge, but winding with the copper. And copper is a little bit more heavy than the gut.
Yes.
And so they will be able to make the first strings for the violin, and after for the cello. And there are more than 40 companies that produce strings in the center of Italy before the Second World. But in Venice, the traditional is glass. Is just only Merletti in Burano. There is the traditional in countryside of shoes, but nothing about the music. Right. So we are a very unique company that have nothing to think about the music. But my grandfather was very clever, and Mr. Brocco understand that my grandfather was be able to develop something unique. And so we started with the violin. But on 1940 started the Second World.
Right.
And during the war, my grandfather was in the Navy, in the military area in Milan.
Okay.
And he was in the chemical department to quality control. So control all the quality of food, of material for the military. And his son was deported into Germany. And we think he's missed. But unfortunately, he came back after the war. We don't understand why. But he was able to come out from Auschwitz.
Oh.
So very, very lucky.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky. And he survived for that. He said then thanks for the music. I don't know why, but they don't tell nothing what's happened there. But on 1946, 45, when the war was finished, my son, my grandfather from Milan arrived in Venice, and also his son from Germany arrived also in Venice. And but the problem that during the war, the old Mr. Brocco was dead, also the son. The only on the life are the nephew, 3 sons and 1 daughter. The only very clever was a woman, but the woman, in 1946, have no power in the business.
Yes.
And so the guys tried to go ahead on the business. They lost more than 1,000 piano that they have to rent before the Second World disappeared during the war. And consider that the Brocco family was so huge company that Mr. Brocco was a friend with the son of Ricordi, and they print music for Ricordi from 1930 until the Second World. And after that, the new generation have not the idea of the business. So my grandfather, on 1950, they understand that the nephew, Brocco nephew, have no idea of business really, and so they go outside of the Brocco company, and they build, make the foundation of Dogal on 1950.
The name Dogal
came from the Duke of the city of Venice, that the name is Doge. So Dogal is Dogale, means the Duke of the city.
Okay.
To say thanks for the city, because you have to understand that in Venice we have not Stradivari that is in Cremona, but Montagnana developed amazing cello, and he came from a small village in countryside of Venice, Montagnana, but he have the atelier very close to Rialto Bridge. And we have also another famous luthier that is Goffriller, also very famous from cello, that came from Vienna. And we have Vivaldi that play play amazing.
Yes, brilliant. I mean, I studied classical music in school and Vivaldi in the Four Seasons.
Exactly, the Four Seasons. And there is the church very close to San Marco Square, where the Vivaldi make the performance with his lady, and it's amazing history. So. We is not the district of music like there is in Castelfidardo for the accordion or something like that. But Venice is, you can smell the culture, even if in Italy now the music is more music to listen than music to play. This is one of the trouble that there are. But in Venice you can smell artists that arrive, and you can walk and lost on the city and see something that play, some baby at home that play the violin or flute, or some people that arrive with the instrument and sit with on the small street that the name in Venice is Calle, small street, and you can play the instrument, the classic guitar, on the violin or the cello, and you can stop, because in Venice no car, so no noise, only a very humanity people. And because you have to walk, you have a very nice relationship and a connection. And this is why, even if my business is in the countryside, I live in this city.
It's like busking. Are you familiar with the term busking?
Yeah, I know.
That's what you're talking about. There's busking. The more people that I speak to, the more builders that I speak to all around the world, everyone understands busking.
Yeah, yeah.
A musician who goes out on the street or the bridge,
Yes.
and plays. And there are people who make a good living
Yes.
at it, actually. So what generation decided to move, or were you always from a guitar side, not a bass side yet, from the guitar side, were you always making classical strings for guitars as well?
I tell the history. So my grandfather started with the violin and violin family, so violin, viola, and cello. But Dogal do not have the technology for the classic guitar, because technology sometimes came from some company that make or fishing product, fishing rope,
Fishing line.
yes, or from tennis, like Savarez.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Okay, but my grandfather immediately after the violin invented a strings in steel for acoustic guitar. The name in the past, the name was Green Label, but is now Nightclub. Is a acoustic strings in the 3 different tension, and the light tension have the same tension like the classic guitar. So you can take a steel strings, put on the classic guitar, you didn't break nothing. And because it's made with the copper in the middle and winding stereo in brass, it's very warmer, like the nylon strings. And now people discovered these strings that we have the same formula like 1923 when they introduced on the market. And my grandfather also developed the strings for the electric guitar on 55 flat for the electric in magnetic material for the pickup, for flat of course. We introduced the classic guitar just beginning 1980.
Just recently?
Yes.
In terms of
yes,
relativity.
1980. Just we developed one machine, special machine for them. Just a very entry-level strings. But I remember that in 1987, one very important player that was also a teacher in the Conservatory of Venice, Maestro Angelo Amato, they clocked to the door of the factory that was until there in the old history of city, and they say to my father, Alfonso, why we cannot develop something more performing? I have some idea for that. So my grandfather try to find some material interesting. We introduced on 1987 the first Dogal Venetian strings, and a standard quality for student and for professional. But Dogal introduced strings in the market only when there are a really reason in terms of material. We don't make strings just only for marketing. That means to make strings every 2 years or every 1 year.
Mass
sometimes.
produced.
Exactly. So the second step of classic guitar was on 2000, when my grandfather found in America a material that are used for the spinnaker or the wind boat. So it's nothing that means from the classical strings.
So for those of you who are unaware, most large string builders, they have machines that wind the strings, and they mass produce thousands of strings an hour, or thousands of strings in a certain period. Dogal still hand wrap all your strings.
Exactly.
So it's really important fact to know, not to blow over the fact that these are hand-wound strings, all of them. There's no mass production. So clearly the quality control is looked at on every single string. I was at the shop today, and I saw it myself. And you must take great pride in that, knowing that you're not mass producing. You're not selling as much, but what you're selling is a greater product, and you take pride in that. Yes.
And we also wind. There are some process that we use the machine, but we use it slowly, because if you use slowly speed machine, you can give to the winding to take the memory of the turn around the core first, in particular for the bass strings, very important. And also, if you work with the speed machine, very speed quickly,
yes.
what means when you winding, there is a vibration in the center of the strings, and if you are very faster, the vibration is very higher. So to reduce the vibration means that the windings are not closed but are open, and so is a wrong sound for the musician. So to reduce the vibration, needed to stretch the core, but mass market production stretch the core more than the musician stretch for tuning. So normally tuning is 7 kilo, but the machine stretch 10. So when you set up a mass market strings, is a used strings.
Yeah.
Because I stressed more than
Yeah.
you need for the tune.
Were you making double bass strings all along when you were making violin, when your family was making violin and cello?
And double bass, of course.
Double bass, of
Yes.
course. Is it the same process for double bass strings as it is for, because clearly the width of the string is, the circumference of the string is larger?
Yes, yeah, the process is the same. Normally there are more winding. In the violin we have one or two winding, and on the double bass there are 3 or 4, depending the sound you need for the E, for example. We have 3 winding of copper and last winding of the flat material.
What generation decided to move over to electric instruments?
Is my father on 1885 when there arrived the big generation and the new American strings. My grandfather was very focused to make just only strings for guitar flat, but the flat strings are losing business.
Flat strings is in flat wounds.
Flat wound, exactly.
Okay.
A smooth surface, and they are losing because they're very expensive to produce, and at the same time different sound. And so I remember in 1985 we introduced for the first time, first in the world, a bass strings, the carbon steel, with instead of the plastic envelope, with the carton envelope like a fly case. So we are the first company in the world that introduced this type of packaging, and that after other company copy us for that. And on 1987 we make the same for the electric guitar. So my grandfather introduced the electric guitar in 1987, the carbon steel.
The same name, Dogal.
Yes, same name, Dogal, yes. And the idea is, because in the violin business, when you project the strings, we have to follow 3 rules. The first is to respect the body of the instrument. What means? It means that it's very easy to make strings that have a big sound, but big sound means a big tension, you break the neck of the violin. So we have to make strings with a good sound, but to respect the body of the instrument. And this is complicated, you need the knowledge to do that. The second thing is to respect the finger of the player. It's very important that the strings is not too heavy to play, because in the violin business they play from 8 years to 80 years, and they play many hours every day to make exercise. And you have to respect the tenth of the players. The third thing that you have to respect is the pocket. What means? It means that the strings could be expensive, but they have to be a long life. What my father and we understand that this rule do not exist on the modern strings, on the electric and the basses. And American company introduced hexacore just only for make a double production instead of round core. In the violin business, you need only round core, because the hexacore have air in the inside, Air is terrible for the quality of the sound and for the sustain and dynamic, and it's not possible to use in the violin, mandolin family strings.
Silly question, but not really a silly question.
Yeah.
So we're speaking to predominantly a bass community here
Yeah.
at the moment. Round wounds, because I'm a fan of round wounds.
Yeah.
After a gig, wiping the strings down,
Yeah.
does it do anything?
If,
Does it really save the life of the strings to wipe them down after a performance?
to clean music? Yeah.
Yes, to take a fabric.
Yes, yes, but the problem is if you have strings that have a hexacore, the sweat go inside.
Hex core.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so
Non-coated.
no, and non-coated, exactly. And your sweat is very acid. You can destroy after one gig. There is also a different material. Some material more stronger than other. Nickel is more soft than our carbon steel alloy, and also the process in production. If you buy a very cheaper material, we have a very shorter life. And also, I say before, how much you stress the core in production. Our bass, you can play round core long time, sometimes 1 year people play, and without coating, because the round core is a natural coating.
Round wounds for a full year?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
1 year. No, 1
Yes.
year. No, for a year not possible, because also depending how long you play every day, of course.
And the tone.
And the tone, yeah.
Some people like dead round wounds.
Yeah.
I know you're a fan of modern music.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of modern music also, but I'm a fan of grunge music. And,
Yeah.
and I hear now that YouTube obviously is prevalent,
Yeah.
bands where the round wounds, when I hear the isolated bass tracks, the round wounds are just, they sound so old on the isolated track, but in the mix, they still sound so fantastic. But to me, there's nothing like a set of fresh, clean, round wounds. Does Dogal sell more flat wounds?
No, more
or
round, more round. Flat is expensive, but you can play 2 years without any trouble, because all the Dogal flat for bass are round core, not hexacore. First,
Right.
and they have an incredible long life. The vintage that we have, that my grandfather introduced in 1958, yes, it's amazing. Is a bass strings flat with the copper in the middle for the middle frequencies, and are developed for the Beatles of Nirvana.
For the Hofner, the Hofner
exactly.
bass,
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Wait, you made, Dogal made strings?
They ask, people ask to make it, and my grandfather do that, because there aren't on the market. So Roto Sound and our are the strings that are making for this type of instrument.
So potentially there could be Beatles recordings with Dogal strings.
Who knows? I think has a Roto Sound. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And the other things is for the, remember one thing, the hexacore not coated, the hexacore not coated, allowed to the sweat to go inside. So we have strings that have a sound, but after, depending how much you sweat, change the sound.
Right.
With the round core, the sound is the same, and they go down slow, they lose the tone and then everything very slowly. We also, our round core is a little bit more elastic, so if you need a little bit more tension, we need a different type of strings. This is why Dogal have 4 types of strings for basses. We have the more soft, that is carbon steel, round core, round wound.
Yeah, let's talk about each of the 4 types. Let's go through those. So what are the 4 types of electric bass strings that Dogal produces?
Yes. We have the carbon steel that is more softer, that is a round core, same core that you use, same steel that you use for the violins with more carbon, some it's more light, and we're having at the note with less kilo to the American material, and so easy to play, more magnetic, nickel free. You have with our gauge 45, you have the tension like 42, but the sound like 48. It's a very incredible mix. And we have the other line is a nickel, is a pure nickel, is more bright and hexacore, medium tension. And the heavy tension is the new that developed with the Bobby Vega and Jonas Hellborg is the vintage nickel.
Not too shabby names of bass players. Bobby Vega, if you didn't catch that, Bobby Vega and Jonas Hellborg. So please go ahead.
Yeah, and this is a combination because it's a hexacore, but with a combination, the raw material, the winding material in the medium is a carbon alloy with the last winding of nickel. I don't sell too many information, not to help my competitors to understand. And it's an amazing strings and very American standard sound that they want. So we have everything. And after that, we have a strings that is completely out of the situation that is the elbow strings. Elbow string that is developed thanks to our technology of the cello, because at the moment we are the only company in the world that make the bass strings with the core is not a single rope, a single core, but is a multi-wire core. We have 12 microfilament together, twisted together, and this is like to have a gut strings in steel.
Right.
So this is elastic, and remember that in the cello or in the violin, you never listen the violin player that go to the luthier and ask, please, can you make low action? Please, can you adjust the saddle? No, the bridge is fixed. The elasticity is a rule that you have to respect when you make a strings. And if you see the strings of the basses, the saddle is like that from the E to the G. And with the Hellborg is like flat because the strings is so flexibility. Also, when you play, going down on the fingerboard.
It feels like gut.
Yes, it's very soft.
The exception, yes. I've never played gut strings, so that's not really fair for me to say, but it does have a special feeling. I was lucky enough, and Andrea was very gracious to send me some strings or give me some strings last year from the Mannheim show, and they're really very soft.
Yeah.
They're very. What's the reason for that?
The reason is because the core is just not one single core, but it's a multi-filament, so it's very flexibility, and this allowed to the musician to make a modulation on the neck, and you can change also the color of the sound, and this is not possible with the standard strings bass. But the gauge is particular because it's 35, 99, within the middle 71 for the A and 51 for the D.
Wait, so let's go through that again. The E?
The E is 99.
The A?
The 71.
The D?
51.
The G?
35. And the D, the C, we see 27, something
Right.
like that. And the B is 120.
Okay.
But
That's on the Jonas set?
yes, just only this set. But this is the combination for the balance of the strings due to the core.
How did you get involved? How did Jonas get involved with Dogal?
I joined Jonas in the, I think, one of the last exhibition of Musikmesse in Frankfurt. And he came because he know one of our reps that we have in Germany.
He was with DR previously, yes?
Yes, you did the previously, exactly. And he came in the booth, and I give you some sample of our standard strings, but he was surprised for one strings that we have developed for our Japanese distributor is a ukulele basis, shorter scale 23, but he was surprised for the amazing sound that the strings have for a so small. And the correct gauge, because the gauge is like 45, 105, but the scale is 23 scale. And normally the physical rules said that if you reduce the 30% of the scale, you have to increase the gauge 30%.
Right.
But you don't do that thanks to the technology to make strings for cello. And so one time Jonas came in Venice and say, I develop a set for a competitor strings in America. I studied the strings also for the piano to understand, and my idea is to have a strings that have just only one winding. I arrive with this company at this, but the strings is in tune only 90%, not be able to arrive at 100%. And so they ask me, normally the D strings for the basses have two winding, no one. So they ask me to make that. I go in production, I produce the strings with a single core and one winding, and they show me they have a digital tuner, and when we can see the fundamental and so on, I say, look, Andrea, it's more stable than your strings, but you see, it's not perfect stable. I say, Jonas, I understand what you mean. Really? Wait me a moment. I go in production, I make the same strings, one winding, but with a multi-wire core. I just in 5 minutes make the strings. I go up and Jonas put on the strings. The fundamental was stopped. And look at me and said, I wait 10 years and no evolution. And you, in 5 minutes, you solve me the problem? And thanks to the traditional strings.
Okay. So the old ways are the fundamentals.
Yes, but remember that it's very important to work in team, because I can create, but without a musician, without a good performer, without a good team in production that we have, we cannot go alone.
Yes.
So it's very important. So I need the musician to develop strings, to develop a new product, and this is very important. We have to work all together, because if we work together in team, we can go ahead in the business.
Let me ask you, this might be a little bit of a controversial question, but when they talk high-end bass strings, I hear TI, Thomas Stack Infield, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What are your thoughts? Why, when I'm in a store and I'm looking for high-end strings and I'm going to make a purchase, why Dogal over TI? And please speak freely.
I at Domestic, we started with violin. Domestic make a very great innovation in the violin business, synthetic strings for violin and multi-wire core for the cello. And he's very strong on the classical business. Some strings for the modern is interesting, but we are in the middle, because you have the knowledge. We are more stronger in steel for violin strings, and so thanks to this we are stronger in the modern strings. They develop more domestic, more synthetic strings, and so some knowledge on the basis on the electric guitar is not so developed.
What's with the Italians and strings?
In Italian there is Galli in Naples.
Yeah.
They make great strings.
Yeah.
And there is Aquila Cord in the Verona, in Vicenza, more stronger in the ukulele and some classical guitar.
Lavelli? No.
Lavelli is not in Italy.
No.
No, Lavelli is in New York. But came also everybody. The name is Ernesto Palla, because it came from Italy.
Yes. The origin of Lavelli is Italy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Also Lavelli original is from Italy. They also make the good strings also for flat. And
but you believe that Dogal strings are superior, or once you get that good, it's personal taste?
It's difficult for me to say if I'm not the best or not. I prefer that the musicians say that.
Yes.
The feedback that we have
Great
is
answer.
the feedback is that people appreciate the quality. We are expensive, we know, but
Be a small batch.
we offer long life, quality, feeling, respect on the finger, respect. We have strings for the acoustic that have a tension that is 8 kilo less to compare to my American competitors with the same sound. You can imagine your guitar that say thank you for 8 kilo less tension, and the top can make a fantastic vibration, so the projection of your sound go at the end of the room, and your finger, when you arrive at 75 years old, say thank you guys.
Yeah.
But it's a round core and not hexacore.
Do you sell through distributorship in the U.S.?
In US, we have strings by mail that make a great
Strings by mail.
yes, make a very great job
Okay.
for us.
That's your U.S. So if you want
Yeah.
to buy Dogal strings or try out a pair. Now, what if someone has a special request for a certain gauge? And I know that we've spoken quite a bit today about you wanting to make sure that there's a consistency from the low string to the high string, whether you play 4, 5, or 6. Will you take special requests for different gauge sizes?
Well, I can do everything, but you know, I have to find a compromise between to solve the problem of musician, but at the same time the efficiency in production in terms of the business. So at the moment, our flexibility is in particular for the basses, guys, that people understand that because not many people know our carbon steel strings that is very easy to play and soft. What happened? That the American strings for bass are very heavy tension. And so now they are producing shorter scale. It's more comfortable. Change material, round core, you can have more comfortable. So now they have 32 scales, many are having. But to offer more sustain, more dynamic, through body. And so you need to have a 30 scale inch strings, because it's very important that the strings, when they turn around the machine head, have not to be bigger. The part of the strings have to be thinner. Okay? And for us in particular, that we don't use hexacore, but round core in particular, we have to be very careful. And also because we use less winding in to save for have better sound. Sometimes we use a winding very bigger, and so we are very careful to find the correct measurement that the strings turn around the machine. There are machine head bigger, smaller. So in the last 5 years, the builder of basses make a lot of difficult the producer. This is why in our web store we have to choose the scale, and we say be careful, because if you have true body, we have to increase 1 inch to your scale, giving all the information. For the round core, we ask don't cut before. If you need it, please make angle 90 degree.
I was going to ask you that. Cutting the string, prior to cutting the string, should you crimp the string on a round one
Yes.
prior to cutting it?
Yes, exactly. Also for the hexacore, it's better to do that.
Otherwise, it'll loosen the wraps.
Yes, the round in particular.
So that's not bullshit. That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you crimp the string with maybe a set of pliers?
Yes, you make an angle 90 degree,
Yeah.
and you have to cut in case you need it to put inside on the...
You cut it right after the crimp.
Exactly.
Okay.
Immediately after, just 1 centimeter after the clamper, yeah.
1 wrap or 2 around the machine head?
2. No 1, please. No 1.
3? I mean, after, does it matter? I mean, 2 or 3, or just no less than 2?
No less than 2.
Okay.
Yeah, no less than 2. Because even, in particular, if strings have no cotton at the end, because our strings have cotton, are expensive also for that, because with the cotton is not for the aesthetic, but just for better crimp on the machine head. If you have strings without cotton at the end, please, in particular for the G strings that is very heavy tension.
Do you make double ball end strings
No.
for headless? Do you have
No.
any? Do you have any intention to?
No. We have in the past, but now they change the property and for Steinberger system, they change the ball. It's completely different. Olive ball instead of round, so we don't do that.
You'd have to retool for
Yeah, no,
that process. No, I
No,
mean,
no,
I'm a
too,
head.
too much complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a headed guy.
Yeah.
I like the heads on. So what's the story with Bobby Vega? How did you get involved with him?
Jonas and Bobby are very friends,
That
and
makes sense. That makes sense.
and so Bobby Vega was invited to make in Mannheim, and after so we involved to came to visit our factory in Venice, and Bobby is incredible artist, but he have also his slang and I understand that without the connection with Jonas could be very not easy to develop to make strings. But
I'll stay silent here.
I remember, Dave, that to get the first strings, I need 4 hours. To make sample, because I don't understand what every musician guys have a different languages to explain. I remember one time that arrived one teacher for cello, and they said, "Listen, Andrea, you can see the beach inside here, the strings." So I have to really understand the language as a musician and to convert in the physical. And so it was not easy to understand what Bobby needed. And but when they found the first strings, in 2 hours I make the other one.
Okay.
But it was very difficult to understand the correct way for the first.
Is it a business decision why Jonas Hellborg has a signature set, and I know that Bobby has somewhat of a signature set, but his name is
Bobby want to be free, not to use. But in the next envelope, we would like to ask him if it's possible to say that these strings will develop also with his name, with the Noy name, because Bobby say some bases prefer these strings, in other bases prefer the other one.
Understood. Understandable.
So in the next printing envelope, we would like to ask Bobby if it's possible, because if you have these strings, it's also thank to him if you have this.
You have children who are going to take over, or family that's going to take
I have
after you retire?
I have one daughter and one son. The son is studying engineer, aerospace, and the daughter is studying now languages. So they are 22 and 18 years old.
So what's going to happen with Dogal after when you retire?
They are too young at the moment. It's very important that they make experience outside of the company, and after that.
Well, you're only 30 years old, so you have quite a few years left.
Yeah, no, I have next year it will be 58.
Yeah, like I'm older than you are. Holy shit.
But the problem is that we love this job.
Yeah.
And so we have passion, and so we are very happy working these fields. And so we see in the next 10 years what's happened, and after that, I hope that the full generation came inside of the company.
What manufacturers, what bass builders are currently putting your strings on as the stock strings when they send the bass out to their customer? What builder is putting Dogal strings on when they send their bass out?
We have Bachi strings, we have Meridian, and
the Italians, more of the Italians.
Yeah, more than Italia, of course. Well, we are not cheaper strings, so it's complicated to set up in builder that make quantity, and some mentality of some builder is to buy the cheaper strings, because he said even if when the musician buy the instrument, they change immediately the strings. But it's not correct, and this is why Bachi or Meridian they choose our strings, because they say the first things when they are in the shop, they try the instrument, and if the strings is not good quality, also the instruments, the impression was not so good.
Right.
And we cannot expect it that the shop changed the strings when they arrived. But this is a complicated situation. So at the moment they set up with the mass market production. Well, it's not possible for me to be competitive with the mass market production.
What is a set of 4-string round wounds sell for retail?
For strings, the 4 strings cost retail €46, including the TVA, the tax, Italian tax, is 22%.
Okay. And as far as we had gone to lunch earlier today and had a really fantastic lunch, and then I had asked, what about coated strings? So where's Dogal with coated strings?
We are working on the coated in the different direction that is in the market. And we present a new coated strings just only for the electric and for the acoustic next September in Mannheim. I cannot spoil too much, but we are developing something that is very unique. The only thing that I can tell to people is the new brand that we have make a trademark now is a Double Shield. Double Shield will be the brand that identify coated strings from Dogal, and will be, I think, will
Double
be
Shield.
Double Shield.
I'm fascinated now.
Yeah.
I never, it's funny, I can buy any strings that I'd like, and I always found that the least expensive, I'm 58, I've been playing since I'm 12. I still love the sound of a fresh set of D'Addario strings, not the NYXL, just a fresh set of D'Addario strings, because they're bright and they stay bright for a while. And then I moved over to Elixirs, and they stay bright for a while. Right now I'm playing either Elixirs or Pitbull or Dogal because I like them very much, and it depends. But I'm very excited that you're coming out with a double coated set, which obviously means they're going to last considerably longer. They stay bright just as long, if not longer. Is that the intention for coating the strings? To keep them bright and keep the sweat off the string?
Yes. We studied all our competitors that make coated, and we developed something that is unique in the market. I don't want to say too much now because I want to preserve our secret for the presentation in the market in September. Yes, I think it's thanks to our knowledge on the violin business, we can offer to the market something that is unique and coated, long life, soft, and not lose the sound that normally people can expect it with the coated strings. Thanks some technical things, we can compensate something, and it will be something very, very interesting. That means expensive, yes, will be more expensive than our competitors, but the experience for the finger will be amazing.
And these will be ready by the time for the Mannheim show?
Yes, they will be ready for Mannheim show, and they will be also very surprised because there will be very important artist that will be signature of this strings.
Oh, really?
I don't say.
Is it me?
You are the second one,
Okay.
of course, but you are for the basses.
Okay.
Okay. For the electric guitar, I don't want to spoil any information for that, but we have the coated also because we are forced for this artist to develop something for him, and in the same times will be something interesting for the market. And we spent more than 3 years to arrive at this feedback, this result, but I think it will be something very, 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 very interesting. And if people understand our philosophy that strings is the first part, the only part in the middle between you and your instrument. So it's very important. It's the first ring of the channel of the sound. And so it's very important to make more attention or what you used. Not important if Dogal, Dada, or Lavelli, not important. Important to understand that which material you like it, you need it, and what to spend it for different brand. Because price make also different things.
So I strongly suggest to try a set of Dogal strings if you're able to and you can afford it, because they really are a quality brand. Again, Andrea and the Dogal company were very kind to send me some strings. As a matter of fact, a little fun fact, I have an 8-string Rickenbacker, and they made the first set. Dogal made their first 8-string set for a bass for my Rickenbacker 4008, which is pretty cool, and it sounds fantastic, and it's really simple to play these strings. So I want to wrap this up here because we have dinner reservations in Venice. Yeah. But I want to thank you very much for your time and all the information you provided us.
I would like to thank you to you. I would like to thank also to my team and to our musician that helps, because if we don't work in team, you see our employees in production, or women, because women are very precious and very clever in to produce strings, and so this is thanks to the teamwork that we can have this very important feedback in the market, and thank you for coming to visit our atelier, because I suggest it's not a factory, it's an atelier. But at the same times, I have, if you have no Kaizen, you cannot go ahead on the business. And so we have make a combination between handcraft production, but at the same time, stronger to make business, because if you have no profit, you cannot pay the employees, you close the factory. So you have to balance heart and numbers.
Yes. Not to prolong this, but there's a high-end luthier company out of the Northeast, I'll keep it as vague as possible, who pays his people a living wage, money that they can live, and health insurance, and pays them respectfully. And you could tell that through that it's not cheap labor, that they put their love in because they know that the company they work for is taking care of them. That's so very important. Yeah. The employees put the love back in when they feel that they get the love from the owners of the company or their bosses. So on that note, we're going to head off to dinner. Yeah. And this was another really fun interview, and we're looking forward to the next one. So thank you.
Thank you.
Andrea, I appreciate it.
Thank you for everybody.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.